Hi, I'm Patrick Dunnican. At Gibbons, we believe that citizens need to be informed about the complex issues that affect their lives. That's why we're proud to support the programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Childhood obesity next on Caucus, New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by Roche, Barnabas Health, and by Health First New Jersey.
Welcome to Caucus, New Jersey. I'm Steve Adubato. You know, obesity is a growing epidemic in the United States. Nearly 1/3 of all of our children are obese or overweight. Joining us here in the studio to talk about this alarming and concerning epidemic are our good friend Dr. Kendall Sprout, been with us many times, acting chairman of the Department of Pediatrics at UMDNJ. Melody DiCatano, pediatric dietitian with the Lifeline Challenge to Healthy Living program at Claramas Medical Center Foundation. Jeff Halevy, behavioral health and fitness expert at Let's Move, which is an organization we'll find out a lot about. And also Dr. Ismael Calderon, science director at the Newark Museum. You have a program called Generation Fit. What's it do?
Steps to a healthier lifestyle is an exhibit, interactive exhibit that teaches about nutrition and exercise.
At the Newark Museum?
At the Newark Museum.
What is the Newark Museum doing, being involved in a fitness program and trying to get kids to deal with obesity? What's that all about?
The Newark Museum is a 100-year-old organization that's been embedded in the neighborhood and the activities of the neighborhood. So when we saw that this was a national issue, we decided that we needed to step in and be part of the effort to try to alleviate and come up with some solutions with the problem.
Is this really what it comes down to, Doctor? I mean, together with our friends at Roche, who are obviously concerned about this as well, that everyone has to be involved in it? I mean, this isn't just for the clinical community, not for just broadcasters and the media. It's for everyone. Talk about it.
Yeah, it's a national problem that has huge implications. You know, childhood obesity is linked to diabetes, especially the type 2 diabetes, which is responsible for the major cause for renal failure, which is the major cause for dialysis. It's a huge, huge health-related problem and economic problem for this country.
How did we get this bad, Jeff? Talk to us about this.
I think that there are, a number of contributing factors. Lifestyle factors certainly play heavily into it. Not that I would not consider myself old, but I certainly played less video games. I spent more time outside. And, even growing up, the foods that I think are commonplace for a lot of kids today were a treat for me. I mean, I remember even going to McDonald's was, a very occasional treat, whereas now the convenience of it, I mean, it's a commonplace. It's an everyday food for many families.
Did it creep up on us? Did it creep up on us, or did something just happen in the last few years?
I don't believe that something just happened in the last few years. We can see this trend beginning over decades, but I think, as Jeff said, everything is so much more accessible now, and the level of activity, the safety of our communities has changed. So just the physical activity level has declined, the access to some of these foods, and the media portraying it in commercials over and over again. When children are home watching this, it becomes a more in-your-face issue.
What's the whole Lifeline Challenge thing that you're involved in?
Well, Claramas Medical Center created the Lifeline Challenge.
Which, full disclosure, is part of the Barnabas Health System,
Yes.
One of the underwriters of this program, so go ahead.
It created this program to be an after-school nutrition education and physical activity program. It's pretty unique that it's combined the expertise that Claramas has to offer with the communities, and we reach out into the elementary schools, and we go in and we teach them on a daily basis, weekly, that we do nutrition education and physical activity so that we can promote healthy and active lifestyles.
Is that the role of a hospital, a healthcare system?
No, but in order to complete this spectrum of prevention that we want to see in our community, we need to connect all of the pieces. We need this community agency, this Claramas Medical Center, to connect with the schools, to reach out to the children, to educate them.
This is interesting because, Dr. Sprout, you've been with us so many times over the years helping us understand these things. I always wonder, because my wife and I, we try to do the right thing. We try to exercise, and we try to show our kids the right way, and it works and it doesn't work, you know? But then I think to myself, how much of the way a parent deals with the issue of health and wellness and being fit and whatever and weight impacts on a kid? Meaning, if a parent is overweight and or obese, bordering on obese, pretty much is that what's going to happen to the kid?
Yeah, if you look at the data, if you have one parent that's obese, there's a 50% chance of the child being obese.
50%?
Both, over 75% a chance
What's
that
up
the
with
child's
that?
going to be obese. Well, I think, you know, we talk about activity and exercise, and I think it's a real component, but I think the real issue is how much we are eating today in terms of calories more. You know, when you talk about what happens, you know, these companies are very, very smart about how they market and how they...
Oh, what do you mean? Back up.
Well,
give us an example.
I'll give you an example in terms of, and part of his exhibit. It has the idea
The exhibit
of,
at the New York Museum.
At the New York Museum, they have these smells that influence your attractiveness for food. And then they determine what the components are that make you want to eat more. So salt and sugar and sweet. So these are things that and you couple it with fat, and you got the trifecta in terms of calories. And so
Wow.
we're consuming a lot more calories today than we ever were. And to Jeff's point, you know, fast foods, they're part of the daily diet of many kids. And part of it has to do with the fact that people are busy. There's a lot more women working today. There's a lot more child care that happens. So when the mother gets home, she doesn't have time to cook a healthy meal. She doesn't have time to do all of this. It's easier to stop by. And the mother is still the major determiner of what gets purchased, what gets cooked, what gets eaten.
Curious. You told our producers you're formerly overweight.
I was. I actually gained 80 pounds from where I'm now, and I decided 5 years ago, I saw a picture of myself in the newspaper, and I said, that's not me, I have to change this. And I slowly started to take control of my eating and exercise. I went back to doing exercise every day and controlling the type of foods that I was eating. No more packaged food. I prepare everything myself. I have a staple diet of vegetables that I eat every day. Went back to making sure that I have my daily allotment of fruits and cut down on a lot of the fat that I was eating through.
Yeah, but come on, how'd you do it?
Through discipline. It's all discipline.
Is it just hard work?
It's hard work, and you have to kind of picture yourself, you know, when you're overweight. I like to dress. And, you know, so you want to be sharp. And sometimes when you have that issue about self-image, and when you're overweight, you don't see yourself as sharp. So what I did, I imagined myself summertime, nice white outfit in the beach, having a cocktail. You know, that's part of it, you know?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Let me tell you something. Let's put it out there. Vanity is a powerful motivator.
Exactly.
I know that this is not, you're shaking your head. And, you know, and I know people, this is probably going to get us in trouble, but I'm going to put it out there. Our 9-year-old, Nick, handsome young man, talented, could be a drummer one day.
Got it from his mother, right, the looks?
No kid. Oh, thanks a lot. Ken, I appreciate that. We've had you on 20 times. It's not going to be 21. No, I'm joking. But I noticed he's becoming very aware. He was going to a party recently, some young, it was going to be the first time boys and girls were going to be at a party together. And I was aware that he was talking to his mom and talking to me about his hair, and he went through this and that, and put the gel in his hair, and get a little bit of thing over there to cover it up. Long story short, I noticed he started talking about clothes and how he looked in the clothes and skinny jeans. He wanted to get into the skinny jeans.
That's right.
Is that a short term?
But that's
Who
not,
cares what it's going to take him if he's going to eat healthier?
Because I think that we all know we're talking about the same thing, and maybe that's even why you were shaking your head, but we're all talking about creating a shift in identity in who we actually are. So the reason that you were successful wasn't, you know, for these superficial or vain, you know, reasons. It was because you were making a shift in who you fundamentally are. When your son wants to go to a party, and let's say you're saying that vanity is part of the equation of his preparation, I would argue it's not vanity. He wants to be cool. He wants to be a cool kid. He wants to be accepted. So that we're talking more about identity more so than anything else. And I can tell you this much, that when anybody ever makes a permanent change in their physical health, it's because of identity. It's because you saw that picture and you said, I'm not that person. I'm someone who...
But listen, I'm not arguing that vanity is some long-term I'm saying that whatever triggers, whatever incents someone to get it going, long term is not going to last, obviously. But for you, you were describing, you put on, I don't know what white outfit you were talking about.
No, that beach outfit, that nice beach outfit when you're out there looking good, you know. It's about that. And vanity is part of it, but also I wanted to see myself when I reach a certain age.
That's
I
right.
wanted to look good.
That's right.
I did not
And
want to be
feel good.
decrepit. Exactly. I remember I had an uncle when I was young, and he was a jockey, and he was always in shape. And I remember saying to myself, I might have been like 10, 12 years old, I said, when I get old, I want to look like that. Because I know my perception, looks sharp, looks healthy, and that's what I want to be. When I saw that picture of myself, I said, you are on the wrong road, and you better take some corrective measures now.
So the point is, whatever it takes to get someone started, obviously longer term, it takes a whole range of things in terms of habit with respect to exercise and diet and complex stuff, and each person is different. But we do know this, we do have an epidemic, okay? It is costing the country. What is it costing us?
$147 billion in health.
How do we come up with this? How do we have any idea of this? How do we have a sense of this? Where is it costing us? In what?
In terms of the health care.
One of them is dialysis, but diabetes and all of the money that's spent on that. But, you know, Steve, one of the things I wanted to point out, and that is that sort of what's not happening is that a lot of folks don't perceive that the way they look is a problem. Yeah. So being overweight is not a problem to the mother. It's not a problem for the kid. And when you start to talk about it, you recognize that they don't really see it as an issue. And so you'll see, you know, people like Heavy D or CeeLo who are overweight, who now are cool, and that sort of allows folks to say that maybe it's okay for me to be the way that I am, when it really isn't.
We accept that in
and by the way, which is why you're going to get to them when they're young.
Yeah. Why you have to get to them when they're young.
Which is your audience.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We service, a population of 5th and 6th graders now, and you see them, and they don't think that in 30 years they're going to be affected by their lifestyle choices now. And although eating an apple today is not going to change their health immediately tomorrow, but in 30 years, they're still going to want to be alive, and they're still going to want to be healthy when they're living. And if they're not making the choices now, there's no way that in 30 years that they're going to be healthy and alive.
How hard has it been for you to get a 9-year-old, because we know for our family, and I only talk about our kids as a way to try to extrapolate for other parents the challenges you have. It has been so hard to get our 9-year-old to eat an apple, to eat grapes, to eat fruit, and the 7-year-old loves them. Just the way it is. Do we force them?
No.
Why not?
That, I think, creates a barrier to food that we don't want to create. When you see all of the eating disorders happening younger, in younger girls and even younger boys now, that plays a role in this forceful feeding, that it has to be good for you. We're drilling into your head that it's good, it's good.
You play games with these kids.
We play games.
Describe the games. Because, by the way, log on to our website. We'll hook you up with our partners here, all nonprofits, if you will, and you can get some great information helping your kids deal with this epidemic of childhood obesity. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yesterday, for instance, we had a relay race. We had
at
two
one of the
teams.
schools?
At one of the schools,
okay.
Yes. They had to be on 2 separate teams, healthy foods and unhealthy foods, where they had to run down the full length of a basketball court and back, and each time they would write a food on their list that they thought was either healthy or unhealthy. The foods that these kids came up with was fascinating. They would think peanuts are unhealthy because of the way that we promote fats as being unhealthy. But in a way, what we try to teach them is that peanuts in their portion size are a great source of protein and an alternative for less healthy meat products. But they think that peanuts, olives, olive oil are all unhealthy.
But portion control is huge.
Portion control is huge. And like Dr. Calderon had mentioned before, that's part of the hard work that you have to do to make a lifestyle change. It's not a magic pill. It's not one of these TV diets that you see. It's hard work, and it's educated choices.
And a decision about life. Say it again?
People don't understand portions.
What do you mean?
We did research out in the community and put out, what's the size of a steak that you should eat, or an apple, or, any food item. And they overestimate all the time, so they eat much more than they should be eating.
But if I may interject on
Sure,
that just for a moment, the thing is, I personally, I know this is probably heretical to you, but I don't think calories are the enemy. I don't think calories are the issue at all. I think the quality of what we're eating is the key issue, because when you eat healthy foods that are nutrient dense, you get full on a lot less than when you eat garbage. Sure, you can fill yourself easily with 3 Big Macs. Those will go down, I don't know about you, but someone might fill themselves easily with 3 Big Macs.
I'm a Burger King guy.
Well,
when I go bad, I go Burger King.
I'm using it in a generic sense, of course. But when you eat foods that are nutrient dense, you fill up much faster. Think about the last time maybe you had grilled salmon and vegetables, and how quickly you feel full when you eat a food like grilled salmon, for instance. People fill up. It's very difficult to overeat a food like that. Extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to overeat apples. Okay. I'd love to see you get stuffed on apples. I guarantee you don't make it past
But when you're eating those foods, when you're eating those foods, your body has to burn more energy, so you're burning calories.
Okay, but you're working with high school kids.
Yes.
You're not talking to them about salmon.
Sure. So well, let me, dial
I want to understand the Let's
sure.
Move thing. And
So,
I respectfully, I know it's not about salmon.
Sure. So we're all familiar with Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign, which has been phenomenal in its ability to raise the awareness about childhood obesity, which was really something that nobody was talking about all that much up until a couple of years ago, and especially here in New Jersey, when we look at obesity rates, and then especially in Newark, where I work, where half the kids in Newark are overweight. Half of the kids in Newark are overweight. One in 4 are obese.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You're going to give the other statistic.
Yes, so half the kids in Newark are overweight. So they're seeing rates that are much higher than the rest of the country. And for me, this was sort of like ground zero. And Cory Booker is the co-chair of Let's Move. Mayor of Newark. Correct, Mayor of Newark, and all around amazing guy and advocate of healthy living. And the mayor and I met each other, really hit it off, and there was an idea that I was going to actually do in New York City, where I live, although I did grow up right here in Jersey. And I wanted to have the 5 boroughs compete against each other to see which borough moves the most. We transplanted that idea to work with high school freshmen in the 5 wards of Newark. So Newark is broken up into 5 different geographical areas. We took 1 high school class in each one of those areas. So we had 300 students in each school, 1,500 students total. And we used measuring technology.
What's it called?
It's called Let's Move Newark Our Power. Our Power is the actual program. LMNOP.
LMNOP, go ahead.
Very convenient to remember. And what we did
Cory Booker is very good on the marketing.
That was me, not Cory Booker.
Okay. Yeah, but trust me, he'll take it and go with it. But
that's if he wants
That's
to.
a good thing.
More power to him.
So real quick, what happened with it?
So long story short is using tracking technology and incentivizing. We used wearable accelerometers, which track all of your daily physical activity. We used a positive feedback loop on the device, which basically just shows you when you've completed enough physical activity, and of course incentives. Who doesn't like to win stuff? So we had prizes for our participating kids. 1,500 students in the program, 1.5 million minutes moved in 11 weeks. So that's 3 years of nonstop activity.
Did kids lose weight?
Not only did kids lose weight, which was not the focus of the program, and as you know, that's something that we don't want to focus on with adolescents and children.
How did you define how healthy they got?
Well, we define healthy by how much activity they were. So the sheer activity levels that went up, think about it, 1,500 students, and we had 1.5 million minutes moved in just 11 weeks. I mean, these students were moving every single day.
That's a good thing, but here's my question.
Yes.
That happens with these kids, which is great. Doctor, how do parents... How do we get parents into it?
Well, I think, parents are important because they help to shape and make the decisions. And to your earlier point, in Newark, it's not about salmon or grilled vegetables. Most of the food purchasing... It'd be nice to
be able to have a supermarket where you can even go and get some vegetables and get some fruit. That would be nice.
Newark is a food desert.
We've talked to Barry Ostrowski, the CEO of the Barnabas Health System. It would be nice to have a supermarket.
That's
in the middle of, the Central or the South Ward.
And so the food choices that a parent has to make is their reality. The Corner Bodega doesn't have a lot of it. And if you look what's stocked on the shelves, lots of sodas, lots of things, lots of that. And so I think that it's important for the parents to learn about what's nutrition. He talks about the kinds of foods, but they have to be available. So one of the things, we're working with, the Robert Johnson Foundation has helped to promote New Jersey, a partnership for healthy kids. Newark is one of the cities. We're looking at trying to get food access issues addressed
That's right.
in the
That's what
city.
Marco Navarro, we've talked about that initiative. And that's actually, we know about that because one of the programs that we're looking at in the future is to look at urban initiatives where there's an increase in trying to create supermarkets, trying to create opportunities where fresh fruit and vegetables are available. And you think to yourself, because I grew up in Newark, and we always had, it was the Pantry Pride, doesn't exist anymore. But we're in Montclair now, and it's so accessible, fresh foods, this and that, literally, you know, fresh fields, if you will. I'm thinking to myself, what must it be like to grow up in a place that doesn't have a supermarket with fresh fruit and vegetables? How do you help those parents that you're dealing with right now, the parents of those kids?
Well, one of the big lessons that we try to teach the kids right now that they bring home to their parents is how to make healthy choices based on the things that are accessible to you. We talk a lot about beans.
Beans.
They're very reasonably priced, very good source of protein, no fat in them, and how to cook more with beans in a healthy way. Soups, stews, main dishes, side dishes. Even we talk about frozen fruits and vegetables, because although fresh isn't always available to us, sometimes frozen is just as good of a choice as getting it fresh.
You're teaching cooking. You hand out recipes too?
We do.
See, people, it's almost that people don't even know what is possible.
They don't. And it fascinates me every day that I go into these schools what these kids don't know and what we think is common sense, because my son has the benefit of having me, a registered dietitian, as a parent, so he knows what a blackberry is. These kids don't know what a blackberry is. They've never seen one, never let alone taste one before.
One of the things we do at the museum is, with the exhibit, is we for instance, you can do all of the things, you teach them how to cook like that, but it's ethnic too. They have to be eating stuff that they want to eat.
What do you mean? Give us an example.
You're Italian, I'm Puerto Rican, so you're used to your cuisine,
Yes.
and you want to eat that. So now you have to learn how to make those foods healthy for you. So instead of eating the pasta that has been processed, you eat the whole wheat pasta, and you start changing your.
Tell folks what the difference is. My wife started doing the whole wheat pasta. It's healthier.
It's healthier.
And
Absolutely.
so in your community, just say certain food.
We tend to eat a lot of starches and fried foods. That's the basic cuisine. So we try to use better oils instead of using corn oil. You're using olive oil, which is better for your heart.
Do you tell folks you're doing it, or you sneak it in?
This is all part of it. We tell them, and we have them taste the food. We bring in chefs that teach how to cook. We did it during the opening of the exhibit.
Because they need to know it tastes good.
Exactly, and this is, again, lifestyle change. You have to do it slowly.
You told our producers you had to do this slowly, right?
Slowly. You have to take your time doing it. You don't get fat or obese overnight. It takes a while.
Incremental change.
Incremental change.
Jump back in. Get about a minute
We're
left.
actually hitting on an even more important point, in my opinion, too, and that is B.J. Fogg is a behavioral scientist out at the Persuasive Tech Lab in Stanford. I'm a very big fan of his, and he has a model for behavioral change that has 3 components. We have motivation, ability, and triggers. And what we're talking about, motivation just simply means, getting somebody obviously to want to do it. Triggers means a reminder to do something. Ability is a huge part that's often left out of the equation. So we bombard people with commercials about getting healthy. We give them the information, that's triggers. We give them the information that they need in order to get motivated. But then we don't tell them how to do it. And what we're describing now is education. We're describing the ability to do something. So that is, I think, probably the most important part. So it's true. If someone doesn't know how to cook a healthy meal, and we say, look, you got to start eating healthy or you're killing yourself. Well, what are they going to do? They don't actually have that solution readily available. So I think that, and as you mentioned too, I mean, Fat Joe, the award-winning rapper, participated in our program. He was actually a final prize.
Was it important to have him be a part of it?
I think it was incredible to have him be a part of it, especially because of his relatability. He grew up eating a lot of the same ethnic foods that the children in the program ate, and he could very easily explain, hey, look, the fried plantains, they got to go. When you have fried plantains and rice and the bread, you're eating sugar and sugar and sugar.
Not to eat, but just eat right. Be mindful of what you're putting in.
Exactly.
But the messenger sometimes matters.
Yes.
Okay, you got a few seconds left, Doctor.
Absolutely.
What have we missed?
I think the other thing is that when children come home from school, they eat what's there. And so if the parents don't have those calorie-rich foods, they know that the kids aren't then they need to make better choices about what's available.
What should we fill that cupboard with? Go.
Well, fresh fruits and vegetables if they're available.
What else?
No,
Give me some snacks.
some of the things that you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have sodas. Sodas are packed with sugar. It's just sugar and water. Lots of excess calories. No good.
I got to tell you, we've done a few shows on children and health. This is one of the most useful and effective ever. Thank you very much. Great job.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 20 years of broadcast excellence. N13 4WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by Roche, Barnabas Health, and by Health First New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey, and the Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus, New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
This is One-on-One. Join me as we get up close and personal with some of today's most compelling personalities.
This is one you can't afford to miss.
Weeknights at 7 and 11:30 p.m. on NJTV and 12:30 a.m. on 13.